Okay, so you've had a conversation with someone about your product or service and they seem interested and you're all excited. You're like, yes, they could be the ideal client, they could be the ideal customer. And oh my gosh, this is the one. I am actually going to close a sale. And you're so excited. Well, what happens when you try and book the next appointment and you don't hear back from them? And then suddenly maybe they're ghosting you on social media and you're starting to get concerned that perhaps you've done something wrong. Well, this happens all the time. And in today's training on Raw and Real Entrepreneurship, I'm going to talk to you about 3 signs that your prospect isn't that interested. My name is Susan Sly. I'm a best-selling author. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a tech investor. And my objective in my professional career is to help business owners succeed. And I want to see you succeed. I want to see you flourish and thrive. So let's get right into it. Years ago, there was a movie called He's Just Not That Into You. And in that movie, the main character, she thought that this guy was really, really into her and, tries to get his attention. And you know what? It just wasn't working. And much like in business, when we have that initial conversation or we're thinking, oh my gosh, this is the one, they're going to be a great person for us to do business with. And then suddenly they're not getting back to us. It's easy to tell ourselves a story that we didn't say the right thing, or our business isn't that great, or we're not the right person. If you've ever taken it personally when someone you thought was going to do business with you didn't get back to you, in the comments below, just say me, because I read all of your comments. And, it happens, even to myself included. So I want to begin with a quick story. Years and years and years ago, in fact, back in the year 2001, I was living in Toronto, Canada, and I was purchasing leads for my business, but I was also buying ads in national newspaper. And so I remember I'd start to call people and they'd say, other people have already called me, because what I learned from these lead lists is that they sold them to multiple people. And so I knew that if I started at the top of the list, by the time I called them, 7 other people had already called with the same kind of offer or promotion. So I started calling at the bottom of the list. And it turns out these were better conversations because these people hadn't yet been called. And I remember one night I had a great conversation with someone. They were very interested. And I scheduled the follow-up meeting for Thursday night. So this was Tuesday, schedule it for Thursday. So I'm, standing up, I've got my headset on. Keep in mind, it's 2001, right? So, I'm ready. This is going to be amazing. I'm so in my power. And I call and there's no answer. And I'm starting to get mad. I'm like, oh, this person, they're just not picking up the phone. What's wrong with them? They said they'd be here at 7 o'clock. And I had told myself a story. This person's ready. They're coming into my business. And then 7 o'clock, no answer. So I start to get angry and I'm like, oh, okay. I call again. And I'm like, this time I'm going to tell them, if they answer, I'm going to, tell them they're unprofessional, or I'm going to leave a voicemail. Anyway, this woman answers and she's crying. She's like, hello. And I'm like, is John there? And she said, he died this morning. Yeah. Did I ever feel like an idiot? And so what I learned in that moment was that regardless of what was going on, I was going to commit to not tell myself a story if someone wasn't getting back to me. But how do you differentiate if someone's actually interested or if they're just kind of like blowing you off? And that's what I want to talk about in this short video, the 3 signs that someone's genuinely not interested and how to handle it. So the first sign is that they aren't replying to you within 24 hours when you thank them for their initial time. So when you're in sales, whether you're managing a sales team or you're a vice president of sales, you're out there, you're grinding, you're hustling, you're trying to drum up business. Generally speaking, after you connect with a person, it's a great idea to send an email just to say, hey, thanks for your time, Sarah. It was great to connect with you. I'm looking forward to our next conversation. If that person doesn't reply to you within 24 hours, it's usually a fairly good sign that they're not that interested. And so what do you do about that? You could tell yourself a story and say, well, they're not that interested. Or you could be like, oh, maybe, something happened. Whatever it is, you don't know why they didn't respond, but here's what I suggest you do. Wait another 72 hours. And if you haven't heard back from them, then send them another email. Say, hey, Sarah, I just wanted to make sure you got my other email. Thank you for your time. I would love to schedule a 15-minute follow-up Zoom or whatever, Teams meeting or whatever it is. Okay. So don't take it personally, and PIB, nothing personal in business, but send another email. If you don't hear back from that one, then chances are Sarah is not a hot prospect and you just want to put her aside for a bit. It doesn't mean you don't follow up in 3 months or 6 months. And I continuously follow up with people, especially if they're an ideal candidate for my business, an ideal customer, an ideal business colleague. Number two, a really good sign that they're not that interested is they aren't committing to the follow-up meeting. So something along the lines of this: you do a sales presentation or you're pitching your company and you think, oh my gosh, I've done a great job. Maybe you're doing a Series A funding pitch or a seed round funding pitch, or you're pitching your product or service and you're like, yes, I'm in the zone. This is awesome. And generally speaking, you should never leave any meeting without setting up the next meeting, right? You always want to have that meeting cadence, and it is just sales 101. So the thing that you ideally would do at the end of the meeting is say, okay, George, what does it look like to follow up at this time next week? Or what does it look like to follow up at this time in 2 weeks from now? And if George is like, well, let me get back to you. I have to check with my assistant. I have to check with my wife. I have to check with my dog, or whatever it is. If George starts to come up with a series of reasons why he can't commit, then my friend, chances are he's not super interested, because someone who's very interested is going to say, okay, yeah, next week at this time, or let me pull out my calendar. Right now, it doesn't mean that he's not interested forever. It just means he's not interested right now. So what do you do when that's the case? Say, George, I'm sensing the next couple of weeks are busy for you. Would it be okay if I follow up with you in 3 weeks and we can set something up? Try to pin George down to get a time, because maybe there was something you said in that initial presentation that really didn't resonate with George, but George is your ideal client or customer. See if you can get another appointment. The third sign that they're just not into your product or service is they aren't returning your calls. Now, some people are very old school, and I think there's nothing wrong with this, and they'll do a phone call and they'll say, hey, Bob, it was great to connect with you. I'd love to see if you have time for lunch next week, or whatever the case is. Maybe you do a voice text, a voice memo, you do a video text, whatever it is you do, but it's your voice, they're hearing your tone, they know you're excited, and they do not get back to you. That is a huge sign that they're not interested, especially if they don't even acknowledge it. And I know for myself, when someone's trying to sell me something, if I don't return a voicemail, chances are it's because I'm not interested. Because if I was interested, I would text, I'd be like, hey, Bob, got your voice text, got your voicemail. I'll send you an email. Let's schedule a time to talk. So thinking about this, at the end of the day, guess what? When someone is not into your product or service, it's much like dating. It just means they're just not into what it is you have. You cannot take it personally. It's, it happens, right? But at the end of the day, you want to have more people in your sales pipeline for your business, or more leads of people who might want to invest in your business. And I have a lot of friends right now who are doing startup companies, and they're doing crowdfunding, or they're doing friends and family round, or whatever it is they're doing. And you have to have more people who are possible. I call them pips, people in potential. You have to have more pips than you do the number of people you require in order to move your business ahead. So with that, this has been another episode of Raw and Real Entrepreneurship. And I would just encourage you to check out some of my other videos here on YouTube, whether you're looking to navigate a 16-hour day or you're looking to figure out how to, prioritize your time. So drop a comment below. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I premiere new videos every single week. And if you have a question, please go to susansly.com, submit a question. I'd love to make a video just for you. So with that, God bless, go rock your day, and I will see you next time.